Hi everyone, my name is Yuri Titaryov and I'm a War Thunder developer. Today we'll be talking about how to make your own airplane models and skins. Using any graphical editor, you can recreate any camouflage pattern from history or from your favorite ace pilot. You can also introduce decals you'd like to see on your plane, emblems, numbers, symbols, anything you like. This is now available. If you have good experience working with 3D packages, you can collect blueprints and literature and recreate the airplanes you'd like to see in-game with maximum accuracy. Players without such experience, who don't want to make something of their own, can download the models other players have made and see, fly, and use them. In the game, an airplane model represents a mash of the airplane, its visual geometry, flares from its machine guns and cannons, and emitters for its bombs. Nothing limits your poly count. You can create very detailed models. Right now, we use on average 50 to 60,000 polygons for fighters and a little more for bombers, up to 80,000. But test results have shown that nothing limits the poly count. For example, you can have up to several million polygons in your model and it won't affect your frame rate. The plane's damage model is located into separate DAG files, along with its damage model, a simplified model of the airplane, which repeats its contours as accurately as possible, with some small simplifications. This model is used to calculate collisions with missiles, shells, and so on. It also contains contact points with the ground, buildings, and other planes for the chassis, wings, and the plane's entire visual geometry. These points can be altered. The Content Development Kit, or CDK, which is available to players, contains a model viewing program called Asset Viewer. Using it, you can see all the changes made to the collision model and the visual model in real time, in addition to the texture changes as soon as you refresh. In spite of its seeming complexity, creating your own planes is not hard. You can start by moving cannons and machine guns, or adding and removing weaponry, just to get a feel for it. And you'll soon realize that it isn't difficult and is a lot of fun. Later on, as you develop your skills, you'll surely want to create something more complex. So, now I'm going to show you how to export a model you've created from scratch, or an already existing model you've edited, into the game. We're going to use a TB3 bomber as an example, and try editing it. For example, by cutting off a part of the wing. And just for effect, we'll take the pilot and put him right on the wing. You can do basically anything you like with the model. You can just make one for fun, or make a really detailed and impressive model. Now that we've moved the pilot and cut off a wing, we'll start exporting this model. Here, I've brought up our configure buttons. You can do this by pressing the Configure Button Sets button. And right here, you can select our tools, which you'll use to work with models. After that, we click on the Dagger Scene Export tab, and then the Export DAG button. Here we have an I-185 sample. But since we're modifying another plane, we'll need to create another folder with our future plane's name, in this case, TB3. I already created one earlier, and all the DAG files are already here. We'll export the standard LOD0 state. Here, as you can see, we already have the DM file. That's the collision model. For example, the plane's invisible geometry, which is used to calculate collisions or hits on the plane, and the file DMG2. This is for torn-off wings, or a torn-off tail and textures with damage from hits. But we want to export the plane's standard whole state. We click on this file, the title of the plane, plus LOD0, and click Export. The editor asks us if we want to overwrite the file. We click OK, and then we want to take a look at how our changes to the model look. We load up the Asset Viewer program, which can show us changes in real time. And here we can either find the plane in in these folders, or enter TB3 into the filter, and the program will filter away everything else. We can then switch to the model. We click the little green teapot icon, that means the model, and we see that our plane has loaded. As you can see, it is missing a wing. Pilots aren't shown in Asset Viewer. We can only show them in the game. But you can see the overall result right here. I want to draw your attention to one very important point, the LODs. We can see that our model is broken into layers. Here are our normal whole states and our damaged states. Each state has 4 LODs, from LOD 0 to LOD 3. What are LODs? They're models of the plane at various distances from the player's camera. If the plane is close to the player's camera, we load the maximally detailed LOD 0. And for a short distance up to around 50 meters, we load LOD 1, where tiny details are either removed or optimized in such a way as to reduce polygons. As such, LOD 3 is a very low-detailed model, consisting of around 100 polygons, for example. So, it's important to make your changes in all the LODs. Otherwise, what you see at a distance will differ from what you see close up. I can demonstrate this right now. Here's our LOD 0 with its changes. And since I didn't make any changes in LOD 1, we can switch to it and see that the model is the same as it was before our changes. Now it's time to see how it looks in-game. So, for our changes to find their way into the game so we can fly our newly modified airplane, we have to right-click on the plane's folder and select Export All, which allows us to export both the DAG files and the textures. We can also export them separately. Now that the game has launched, we select the TB3. As you can see, all the changes are right there in the game. There's our pilot on our torn-off wing. As you can see, it's simple. Download the tools, give it a try, and you'll succeed.